Yednamayan, Shadow Eater here, one angry pagan. Now, I was just having the you know, thought experiment going through my little, well, not thought experiment, just a train of thought going through my head, and I feel like we on the left have a problem. A lot of us anyway. Well, we have a number of problems, but one of the problems that is our what I see as a problem I see occurring very frequently on the left is, and it sounds strange, but it's our principles. Now, I'm a principled person myself, but I also hold to a philosophy, so to speak, of as much as possible non-absolutism. What does that mean? Well, I did a previous video on absolutism, you might want to check that out. But as it pertains to this, it's when people get an idea on principles, when they get a principle, say, so I just taking politics out of it for a second, cannabis, right? People have different principles on cannabis. My principles is not that strict on cannabis. It's a medicinal herb that should not be abused. But others have the principle of it's as bad as heroin and it should never be touched and it's evil, right? Now, the difference between them is that my principle is not narrowed to a point where I can't see beyond my own point of view, if that makes sense. It means I can see where the other person is coming from, but I can disagree with it. Whereas more often than not, and this isn't 100% case, again, I'm a non-absolutist, but more often than not, quite often it's a case of that person who's their principles make them 100% against weed. It's like it's evil. They will refuse to allow someone to show them another way of seeing things. This is a problem. Not the actual cannabis thing. The way of thinking is a problem. This absolutism. Now, coming back to politics, we're on the left. Or at least I've noticed it quite a bit. Further left you get, we seem to get just as absolutist as the right, and it drives me mad. I hate communism. Communism drives me mad for the same reason. Ultimately, communism has an end point. I am a socialist, believing that the socialist policies can advance the human race to the next point in our evolution. That's not an end point. You can argue the toss with me all you want, but I understand the science of evolution more than most people. More than the average layperson, I should say. So, don't try me. You can try me, but you get humiliated. Sorry if that comes across as arrogant. I'm sick and tired of people trying to pull me up on this as a fallacy, and it isn't. In any case, the amount of arguments I've had with people further left than I am. Now, I'm not exactly a centrist. If you've listened to my content, you'll know I'm not actually a centrist. I'll back Starmer because I believe it's better than voting Tory. Like, infinitely better than voting Tory. I will always, it's just like, it's like in America, the Democrats aren't great, but rather vote Democrat than, Republican. To me, it's better than not voting at all. Not voting at all doesn't do shit. And if your voting system doesn't allow for third, fourth, fifth parties to have that much influence, I get a bit iffy on trying to force something to be where the material conditions are not right for that situation yet. And I am someone who believes in proportional representation, but as someone who lives in a country where we don't have proportional representation in the general elections or the locals, we have to use the board we are given. We have to play the game on the board we are given. Now, those left of me argue the toss with me about this. If Starmer barely does anything, don't care. I am going to be fucking. I'm not expecting. I'm not expecting him to be the how would the Christians put it? The next coming of Yeshua. Oh Jesus! But he is better than. He just is better than the Tories. And most of the policies that I've been hearing, I've not had any disagreements with. I just haven't. I haven't seen any actionable, until we see the manifesto. Not sure how much criticism I can give right now. But again, coming back to the non-absolutist, the absolutism of the left. They'll stick on an idea. Veganism. It's not that it's not that I argue with the concept of it. I'm just not going to do it myself. I'm not. I don't like vegetables. I'm not a rabbit. Vegans, vegetarians, you do what you want. And I am pretty sure and agree with the trend of people becoming vegetarian as time goes on. I feel like it's not an argument I'll have that it's a bad thing. I'm just not going to do it myself. And I am one individual amongst 8 billion. My contribution is not going to be shit. If meat gets more expensive, then I'll eat more expensive meat. That's not being me being intransigent. That's just, me being a non-absolutist. Yeah, things have to be pure on the left. If the policies aren't pure enough, it's not good enough. And then therefore I'm not going to support you at all. I'm sorry, but that's absolutism. That's an absolutist mindset. Especially if you can take the material situation of the country at the same time. With a Labour government, we can get more change than we would with Tories. History proves that. It just does. I'm no fan of Tony Blair, but at the very least, growing up, I didn't have to put up, there was more support than there has been in the last 14 years. I'm not kidding. Again, my last video talked about social cohesion, and an absolutist mindset is not conducive to social cohesion. I just don't see how it can be. Not proper social cohesion. I'm not talking about, people becoming zealots, all of one mindset. I'm talking about social cohesion in a way or social cohesion / comprehension. Comprehension through social cohesion. We can start to understand each other more. We could advance. We could actually do more. But too many people are stuck in an absolute mindset. The human ability to adapt to almost any given situation is our adaptation. It's our brains. We can adapt. We just have to be willing to. And so many people aren't. Especially on the left. And it's as bad as the people on the right. You have to give something to centrists. And it hurts me to do so. If I have to give something to centrists, it's that more often than not they're willing to review their beliefs when confronted with the facts. Normally. By and large. Sort of. Kind of. They're more often than not, I suppose more correctly, it's more correct to say that they are more willing to see two sides or more to a situation rather than just the one thing. Now, I can get het up sometimes on facts. Facts are if something is a fact, unless there's something out there that can undo reality, like in something in Doctor Who or some shit, I don't see how you can change facts. That is one of the few absolutes that I can think of. If something has happened, I dropped this piece of paper, right? I dropped the piece of paper. It's a fact that happened. No one can change that fact. I can scrap this piece of paper. I can burn it. Make it so it never existed. But the fact I dropped that piece of paper still happened. But that doesn't mean that we can't find new ideas about why that happened. How that could... It's just a piece of paper falling, but, if more of us could become less absolutist and vote in people who are just as non-absolutist, it does make me wonder if we could find better solutions to the problems we face. And this will lead into my next video, which is likely to be out either today or tomorrow, in which I'll be talking about optimism. But for now, this has been Shadowito, one angry pagan. Blessed Thursday, people. God bless you, and God day.